What's going on, everybody? So for this video, I kind of just wanted to do something a little simpler, a little easier. I didn't want to do any edits or anything. I figured I'm just gonna let this thing roll and just check out some of these things. I really wanted to talk about five actually, titles and releases that are in the collection that have a true sentimental value to me. And obviously, as a collector, everything's here for a reason. We love this stuff. I love this stuff, or else we wouldn't dedicate the time into this, right? But I was kind of perusing through the collection, and I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff that when I first really started getting into collecting heavy, that still to this day there might be a new release of or an upgrade, and sometimes old stuff just kind of gets wiped out for the new stuff. But there's some stuff here that really, really, really means a lot to me. And I know that no matter how big this collection goes, no matter where we go, these are always going to remain in the collection. And the first one up, this one was a huge deal for me. I know this just got the 4K treatment from Arrow as well, but it's the good old Hellraiser Scarlet Box. And this was one that when I first started learning about boutique labels and really diving into that kind of stuff, this was at that time kind of a holy grail, you would say. This thing was going for $200-$300 online. It's like if you went on eBay to try to find it, there was only 5, maybe 6 listings on there. There wasn't a lot, and people were trying to get rid of this on Facebook groups. $200, $300, $400, like crazy prices, right? Crazy prices. And Arrow had put out a Region B collection of the Trilogy in their own cases. Really nice set. But this was kind of always a holy grail for me. And there were times that I would go onto eBay and try to figure out, I wonder if this guy asking $300 for this thing would take $50, $60, $70. And it never worked out. Silly me, that stuff never works out. But finally, oddly enough, a Facebook post came across one of my groups. This was a couple years ago now. This was a while ago now. And they were getting rid of a bunch of their, I think the way she told me was it was her husband's stuff. And this was one of them. And she was like, yeah, give me like $40 for it. So I ended up buying this thing for $40. I was anxious as hell hoping it would actually show up. She didn't provide me a tracking number or any of that kind of stuff. But it did, and it did not disappoint. I think Arrow, not only one of my favorite labels to collect, but I still think, this, look, I know the 4K, the Quartet of Torment has the 4K, all the 4Ks and the 4K work from the Bloodline and all of that stuff, but I just don't think it trumps this box here. This book, individual casings, art cards, drawings, there's just all kinds of stuff jammed into this thing. And I saw a lot of people getting rid of this once the Quartet of Torment came out. And not all of the bonus features on here were ported over. There was a lot that actually wasn't ported over. It's still, strictly on this set here. And then now, of course, I go on a Facebook group and this is going for like 50, 60, $70. But this will be one that I'll never muster up the strength to sell. This was a pretty imminent moment in my collecting to get this in hands, and arguably this is one of the second reason coming up. One of the releases that made me fall in love with boutique labels and that designer, like that boutique style of release. So this was one of them, but the other one over here was actually, this is the Second Sight Dawn of the Dead 4K Big Hunky Boy edition. And this thing here, so the pre-orders for this came out right around my birthday. It was like mid-October. And I remember at that time, I had never ordered from Diabolic before. Never ordered from Orbit. Never did any of that. I didn't really have a lot of boutique titles. So Dawn of the Dead, always one of my favorite films of all time. One of my favorite zombie films of all time, hands down. To see this getting a 4K, UK company, so it had to be imported. 4K with the novel, with a new book of write-ups, soundtracks, all of that stuff. That was opening to me. I was like, holy crap, you can get all this stuff with a simple like a movie release, like but I ended up pulling the trigger on it. This was, I don't know, $80 to $100 or something like that at that time. And yeah, this thing is, slide this off, you have a novel, book, multiple cases in here. This was my first Second Sight Films release. And then getting this in 4K and watching it at that level of quality and love was such an incredible experience that it was kind of like right around this, I decided to take that true dive and really get into this stuff. Super, super heavy. And I think this, as well as the Scarlet Box, were launch pads for me in my collecting. I learned a lot. I started kind of learning about the labels and such. Yeah, despite this collection, you know, I'm really new at this still. But yeah, this was such a landmark release for me. And every single time, there's actually shelving back there. So the Scarlet Box sits there, and the Dawn of the Dead box sits there, because these are two of the most important releases for who I think I became as a collector and who I'm still becoming as a collector and enthusiast. And when I walk into this room, this and the Scarlet Box are two releases that I look at proudly and fondly, of the memory of getting them and kind of going through that and learning all of this stuff. So definitely means a ton to me. And then I've seen this brought up in a whole lot of videos, and super, super happy with this, because I'm one of those people, like, I always want to learn more. I don't think you can know everything, right? Like, there's no cap. You can continue going and learning. Specifically in horror, there's so many subgenres and so much stuff, and so many movies just in general, that it's kind of hard to know it all and kind of have a full understanding of everything. And you know, it's a constant, like, learning process of discovery and finding new stuff. And a documentary that really, really, really helped me dive more into unique and obscure horror was this right here. And it's actually the In Search of Darkness box set. This, if you haven't seen these, do yourself a favor, go on Shudder, watch these. There's over 15 hours of material on these. You have the first In Search of Darkness, which dives into 80s horror from 1980 to 1989. In Search of Darkness Part 2 dives into kind of some of the more obscure titles, not really the biggest, most recognizable stuff. And then recently, the most recent In Search of Darkness 3 dives into the video store era and kind of those direct-to-video releases of that time. And there wasn't a single time during any of these that I felt like, this is not teaching me something. All three of these, super high replay value. They're daunting, 4.5 hours a piece. One is even longer than that. I get that, that's daunting, but these things fly by so fast, and they're such a joy to watch that every single time I revisit these, my watch list, or my kind of like my desire to learn more grows increasingly every single time. And I'm so excited to see this company do a documentary on 90s horror the same way they're doing this. So to have this trilogy complete in this nice box set, even though I don't know what's happening there, this means a ton to me. This was a company that, for In Search of Darkness 2 and 3, I had the pleasure of working with. I was able to get nice digital copies before the film came out, and was able to work with them as far as promotion and marketing and stuff. So it means a lot to me on that front, but I absolutely love these films, and I'm so proud to have all of them in the collection as well. So then next up, before I moved, there was an FYE near me, and you could really never find anything too cool there. And if you did, it was about $50 more than anywhere else was going to charge for it. But I remember getting a release of this movie that was like your standard studio fare, had barely any bonus features or anything. Seeing this release and this movie in this style, right? And thinking like, there's no way I'm going to pay $70, $80 for that. But I wanted it, and there were times where I was like, man, maybe I should spend $70, $80 on that. And I decided not to. I promise, I decided not to. But one day I go walking into FYE, and this is sitting really, really, really dusty in a shelf. Like, I think they found this thing way back in the warehouse, and they were like, dude, we just gotta ship this thing out, and I was the lucky one who came across it. And that is the Arrow release of Killer Clowns from Outer Space with the FYE exclusive slipcover art here. Check out this art. If you've never seen it before, check that out. But this was one of those films. This is Erica's favorite film. It's become one of my favorites over the years. The cult status, you know, the silliness of it, to the point now where it's 2024 as of recording this, and there's a video game coming out, a proposed sequel. There was talk of a TV series. The Chiodo brothers are up and going strong, and they're trying to, at least I think they're trying to move this into a franchise territory. I don't really know, but the charm of this movie and just the experience of, we all go out trying to find something cool, and you know, it happens every now and again. You bump into something, you're like, yeah, that's cool as hell. You get lucky. This was the luckiest I had ever been physically out and about. I paid $18.99 for this. So super, super, super happy about that. It is one of my favorite. Every time I step out of the house to go hunting for movies, this is what I think about, and I kind of try to channel whatever mindset I was in at the moment that I bought this, to hopefully try to get this lucky once again. But I don't think it ever will. For now, it's just one of my favorite things to have in the collection. And then last but not least, I'm showing here, and I'll tell you why. This is the Midsommar A24 exclusive release. This is the 4K. This is the director's cut. I've never seen the theatrical cut of this film. I missed the initial theatrical run. It came back in theaters with the director's cut, the 171-minute director's cut. That's when we went to go see it. So I never was able to compare that theatrical cut to this, to the director's cut. Me, 99% of the time I'm watching the director's cut of something anyway. I prefer that, especially if it truly is the director's true vision, and not just like, hey, here's some extra blood and gore and the director did this. But this was actually gifted to me from my fiance, from Erica. And this is still one of my favorites of all time. This is a beautiful release. If you've never seen this, I mean, it's got this really nice, like, I don't know what this material is. And then inside you have kind of like a digibook style. There's a bear. And then you open it up and there's pages from of course the first page I opened to is nudity, and the second page, just have no luck with this stuff, man. But anyway, this is always, and I've gotten more of these A24 shop exclusives since. I got, what I get? The Lighthouse, and I think we were looking into getting the Everything Everywhere All at Once release, and always love these. But this was one that at the time I just fell in love with, because your standard release of Midsommar, it's the theatrical cut, and I was like, I kind of have no interest in watching that, but I want to own the movie and support the movie, so I bought it. But having this, and this is still the only director's cut release in the US. Every other one is Italian or whatever language it is, it's been imported in. So this is one of my absolute favorite pieces to have in the collection. And there's still more. I mean, I thought, like, look, let me just make a quick video going over these, but do me a favor, drop in the comments below what your favorite piece in your collection is and why. I'm definitely probably going to turn this into a little series of sorts, because there's a lot more back here that means a lot more to me than just an item on a shelf. I mean, you know, most of it is, but I definitely want to talk more about some of the cool stuff that's back here. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. I hope everybody had a good weekend, and I'll catch y'all later. See ya.